A lot of guesses in the chat, I can see. Tomb has my vote. I've already run Tomb. Oh, fave campaign. I see. I should have kept reading. Favorite campaign for primary group. Yeah. Tomb Annihilation. I mean, that's a highlight of the fifth edition. Oh, by the way, I guess I should update our loading screen a little bit, right? Let's see here. Does anybody have any guesses based on the blurry image so far? I actually took the time to blur this out. Consider this a cold open, by the way. I wonder if people are stuck on just mute mode because I haven't actually turned over to my webcam yet. This is a special intro for anybody who's actually listening. I'm gonna reveal our image, which I didn't actually take an official image from a book cover. Instead, I took just one of my favorite pictures from the book and then blurred the hell out of it. Just for funsies. But I plan on using this image a lot because I think it's a really cool picture. Fandelver, the psychic goblin back in. Oh, you're talking about the, what do they call, the Shattered Obelisk? Vernus is an interesting choice. Can't be Cthulhu by Torchlight. Too soon after the semi-Lovecraftian call from the deep. Yeah. Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Well, here is the. I think the image is gonna give it away. So I'm also gonna type, I guess, and then I promise I'll go to my. I don't have my camera set up on my loading screen, so that's why I'm doing a little cold open funsies. But let's switch over to this image, and let's type in what we're doing here. Oh, it runs off the screen. I'll have to change the actual size and everything of how this is going to lay out. But it'll be something. Let's see. Something like that, I believe. Hello, everyone. Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the very first crafting stream for my next D&D campaign. I gotta fix my webcam for a second. Give me one moment. In which I also announced what the hell we're doing, which is a little different than how we usually do it. This is Keys from the Golden Vault. Is what I'm gonna do next. So some of you may recall back when I first I haven't done the freaking top part of the screen yet. It's so new. Some of you may recall back when we first in pre-production for when I was deciding what to do next after Rime of the Frost Maiden, and I had it nailed down to, I believe, 4 choices, which were Keys from the Golden Vault, Curse of Strahd, Dragonlance, and then like Call from the Deep, Ghost of Saltmarsh, the nautical campaign thing. Ended up doing that one, obviously. So that was however long ago, 2.5 years or something. And then since then, we haven't had a whole lot of releases come out that I've been super stoked about. And then I ended up doing, obviously, Dragonlance for my Patreon D&D group. So that really left me with 2 options based on the ones that I was still excited to run or interested in running, which was either the Heist anthology adventure, Keys from the Golden Vault, which came out in, gosh, I don't know when it came out now, I forget. But it would have been come out late enough where it was available to vote on like 2 years ago, I guess. Or Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd is still in the back of my mind as something I probably need to run at some point. But I will tell you that a thought occurred to me about what makes this an interesting idea to run as a campaign. Stick with me now. You all are going to get the first-hand insight. You're all going to make insight checks. First-hand knowledge about a crazy idea I had. So obviously this is super spoilery for our campaign going forward. What I would like to do is I would like to start out playing Keys in the Golden Vault, probably doing like maybe 70% of the modules, which we can talk about, the ones that I liked, the ones I didn't like, and yes, I went back and revisited my own ranking video. It's great content, just quality stuff. Handsome, confident lad on there. And I had the idea of transitioning into Vecna Eve of Ruin and continuing the campaign with that high-level campaign, because there is one of the heists, for those of you that have gone into it and read it, the last heist in Keys from the Golden Vault involves the players stealing the Book of Vile Darkness, like the fucking evil spell book that is like a central power force for Vecna. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, can I pull off a twisteroo and have it be that the party, like at least the second half of their heists, they're actually like inadvertently working for like Vecna and Vecna's cultists, and by stealing the Book of Vile Darkness and handing that over, they give Vecna like the final power of ascension, and then that kicks off Vecna Eve of Ruin. Can I do that? I don't know. Is that a crazy, stupid idea? Quite possibly. Did I even like Vecna Eve of Ruin that much to run it? I think so. With, my usual modifications here and there. The Dragonlance chapter was kind of, and then the entire, what was the one? The Ravenloft chapter was kind of, but there's still some good content in there. But the problem was it's a high level campaign, right? It's level 10 through 20. And that's also the thing that I said that I would never do. Because already when my players reach like the teens or something, the balance just kind of falls off the wheels. For those of you that have played like any amount of D&D 5th edition, you know how taxing it is to create compelling content at that level, for me at least. But also, fuck it. Why not? We could try. We could certainly try. So that's my idea. I'm very curious to hear what all of you think. Positivity right now, which is great. It's a little like I literally got the idea. So I'm gonna spoil a little bit of Oblivion. I know normally I wouldn't care that much because it's an old game, but they just came out with the remaster. So I know some of you are probably playing Oblivion Remastered right now. So I'm gonna spoil a kind of a cool quest line for like the next 30 seconds. You might want to mute me, but there's a really cool bit in Oblivion where if you work for the Dark Brotherhood, which is their Assassin's Guild, they do kind of basically is the inspiration I had, where I think you start off like legitimately just working for them and doing assassinations, but at some point, and you're only getting your like missions through dead drops, you never like meet your quest giver for a long time, I think. At some point you realize the quest giver is like somebody who's trying to actually eliminate the Dark Brotherhood themselves, the organization you're like working for, and it turns out the targets are like the victims of the Brotherhood, and you've been like annihilating your own organization, and it's this big like reveal that you've just been this tool of a really bad villain. So that's kind of the inspiration that I have for this, is if I can pull off a really cool reveal. I mean, it's really hard to do that, with the players. And it's going to be tricky, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to make that happen, and try to make it not like, oh, how dare you players, you really fucked up there, but more of this like, oh shit, like I can't believe we've been doing this the whole time. But then give them an out where they can, obviously be contacted by the heroes of Vecna of Ruin. Maybe I'll change that also. I don't know. Like, I'm still thinking about it. So the way I've actually put it together in Roll20, because I thought it's probably easier to actually create the module as Vecna Eve of Ruin, and then add because with anthologies on Roll20, you can add each individual adventure as an add-on. So that's actually what I've been doing, and I think that's going to work a little bit better, even though we're not going to see Vecna Eve of Ruin for a long time. But my other thought is that one of the first chapter from Vecna Eve of Ruin is there's some notes that you can actually scale it for levels. I think it's designed for 10. It's the first chapter, or it's first chapter, and it's the one where the players have to go into Neverdeath and Evernight, like the realm of undead, like the upside down of Neverwinter. It's a really cool little bit, and I read it and I was like, I could work this as a heist because it's basically you have to rescue people. Although they're not really going to give like a map or anything, it's a really tricky heist situation. But I could insert that a little bit earlier because you're designed to run it at level 10, and I could insert that as early as level 7, and then maybe that's what actually starts to put the whole Vecna thing on their radar, because that's when they start getting involved in the Vecna cult. Like they directly rescue some nobles from the cult, and I think that's when they officially become linked to Vecna during that event. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I can run that earlier and actually insert that just as I would another heist in my anthology adventure. It's just a heist that happens to go, be involved going to this like upside down place and all this. And then go back to doing some other heists like the train, the Clockwork train one, and then importantly the last one for the adventure, the Keys from the Golden Vault, is stealing the Book of Vile Darkness from the Ifrit, and that's definitely going to be a Vecna mission. But then I started looking at, okay, what other missions, could be considered ones that would be ordered by the Vecna cult, because they would be interested in secrets. And then I think the train one, the Clockwork train one, would definitely work for that, because it's just this mysterious stranger who knows secrets. And I was like, well, fuck, anything like that's such a cool concept, is like the main villain doesn't want to steal things. He wants knowledge, and that knowledge is powering his like arcane power and stuff. I think that was a cool idea. So this is my idea. And it's going to be a complete twist, hopefully, and a shock to the party, that we will transition in, like, they just think this is, when I present it to them, only all of you are going to know this, right? Like during the crafting stuff, all of us be talking about this, but my players, hopefully, will be in the dark about this whole situation, and we'll just be playing it like we're a normal episodic heist adventure where we're getting our missions, should you choose to accept them. We're doing the Murkmire Malevolence, we're doing the Stygian Gambit, we're doing Talkworth's Clockworks and the ones that I liked. But then at some point, we need to make sure that we insert the first chapter of Eve of Ruin. I forget what it's called. I actually have it in here because, like I said, I actually, in fact, you can see I put it in. There's a big folder labeled Secrets. So I literally made the module like Vecna Eve of Ruin, and then I'm adding in the individual modules that I like, which takes a little bit more organizational effort from me. But I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it, because otherwise, the other way to do it would be to just create the module of Golden Vault, and then when we finish the adventure, we'll use the character vault and do all that system to move characters over. But this way, I mean, I've had this idea from the beginning, right? And all of you know now, so it's all plugged right in. So you can see I moved everything into this chapter here. Is it under the Wizards 3? I don't know why. Okay, there it is. Chapter 1, Return from Neverdeath. Yeah. So it's that whole section that's actually Vecna Eve of Ruin, which is, I think it's chapter 10 that it starts. Yeah, 10th level characters. But somewhere it mentioned, I have it in my notes, that they scaled that first chapter. You could do it as early as level 7. And you could run it as a heist, because they're basically saving people. Yeah, there's a lower level and higher level character sidebar. There we go. Character is a chapter is a preamble to the adventure's primary plot. You can run this chapter for lower level characters, adapting as described below. If characters are 7th, 8th, or 9th level, remove creatures is noted in the creatures to remove table. So it even has some like advice on how to do that. It also mentions after you beat this whole adventure, under the what's next chapter. Let's see. They get their Vecna link. Characters aren't level 11th yet. More adventure awaits. There's no end of work in a frontier city such as Neverwinter. Basically just says like, okay, well, do whatever you want until the next chapter. So I'm thinking like, gosh, this would work really great then if we just treat this whole first chapter of Vecna Eve of Ruin as another heist and insert it, you know, probably somewhere around level 7 or 8 or so. And then they can go on and do Affair on the Concordant Express, which is the train one, Party at Palace at Hall, which is the like the Fey party, and then Fire and Darkness, which is the Steal the Book of Vile Darkness from the Ifrit. Now I have a lot of different questions on how to do this. I feel like I need to use the Golden Vault because that's like the whole name of the freaking campaign thing, and it says like, hey, if you're running this as a campaign, then here's like how to do it, even though it doesn't have a whole lot of. So I'll be honest, as much as I'm excited about running the whole heist thing, and I like the concept of a lot of these adventures, there's not a lot of good information on how to turn it into a campaign. It's basically like, yep, good luck, DMs. You can. What was the whole advice is like, yep, you can totally make this a campaign. Just throw everything together. Freaking, where does it even say that in here? It might not say that because I added them all in individually. Let's see. Collection of heists, is that where it is? It's under a campaign of heists, but I don't see that one right here. Oh, it is under a collection of heists. Yeah, that's the first chapter. Maybe we'll just look that up. It's Golden Vault, the adventure where it suggested all players have some multi-classing as rogues. I don't know. I mean, you could. Rogue's obviously a good choice, but, you know, think of like the A-Team. Like, I think, honestly, a good heist crew has room for everybody. In fact, I think a wizard might be more useful than at least once you get up in levels. Like, I mean, invisibility, are you kidding me? Like, knock, shatter for making noise. Like, a well built wizard is like the ultimate heist person. And then, you know, obviously you could have a face is important to distract people. So, and I'm sure you could find a way to need muscle. So I like the idea of having a well-balanced heist crew. Okay, that doesn't have any information on there. Well, I can read it from I was hoping to put a visual up for you guys. I have the book in front of me. But it says you can combine the adventures in this book to form a campaign. Each adventure would be an episode in the campaign, with you filling in the details of the character stories between jobs. Thanks, book. If you go this route, encourage the players to create a crack team and a base of operations, a supporting cast of allies, and other hallmarks of a heist crew. Have your group decide on these details before play begins, so the adventure progresses seamlessly. Okay. So that's like a session 0 thing. To ensure the characters are always prepared for their next heist, make sure their level matches the heist's level as shown in the heist advancement table. So that is one issue I'm going to immediately run into because I know that my players... I think my webcam is really low. I feel like my players would definitely want to start at 3rd level, and I would probably agree with that assessment. But two of my favorites adventures, fixing my webcam, there we go, that was bugging me, are the first 2 ones, the ones I've already added in here, which is Murkmire Malevolence and the Stygian Gambit. So I think we're still going to probably start at 3rd level, and I'll just have to scale those up, which means they may be a little, I don't know. I really don't want to start it, and I know my players are not going to start at 1st or 2nd level. I think it's just going to drive them crazy. I did my patron player start at 2nd level for 2 whole sessions. Nah, I guess I'm still debating on that. My gut tells me I should start them at 3rd level and just scale everything up. Could make a rival parts. Actually, the Harper's trying to stop them. Have them make a bastion. Yes. Yes, I do. So the only thing about Bastion is I believe it specifically says in the rules they technically don't get a Bastion till 5th level. Is that right? And yeah, if I haven't announced it yet, we will be using the 2024 rules like my Dragonlance game is. Okay, it doesn't actually say there. Am I wrong on that? I just remember for some reason thinking they don't actually, like, Bastions don't unlock until a little bit later. Gaining a Bastion, maybe that's... Yeah, if you allow Bastions in your campaign, characters acquire their Bastions when they reach level 5. Which, you could make that basically, I think that just tries to showcase that your party needs to move up in the world before they actually get, like, domain over their own area. My initial thought is, okay, the party works for the Golden Vault. The prelude, session 0, I guess, is it. I think it just says, like, hey, explain how your characters basically got picked by the Golden Vault. Let's see, can we look up? You know what? I can look it up in the compendium, can't I? The Golden Vault. That way we can read along together. Is this the section? I think this is the section. Yeah, if you want to use such an organization, have a patron organization that hires the characters to undertake these adventures. The Golden Vault. Rumored to be associated with metallic dragons, is a secretive organization that has its base on one of the good-aligned outer planes. Its membership and activities are almost impossible for outsiders to track, but those in the know are aware the organization rights moral wrongs, supports virtuous underdogs, and handles delicate situations local authorities won't touch. Sounds like the A-Team beginning. The Golden Vault's motto reflects its primary motivation: do good no matter the cost. Missions from the Golden Vault are often illegal, but they are always support a just moral cause. So I'm thinking like the epitome of chaotic good, basically. Golden Vault's undercover operatives monitor adventuring groups from major cities on the material plane. An operative might be a priest, scholar, charity worker, government liaison, philanthropist, or any other upstanding local. Once an adventuring group proves itself effective and virtuous, an operative approaches the characters to offer Golden Vault membership. Should the group accept, its members join the ranks of the Golden Vault, and the person who invited them becomes their handler for future missions. And they have an example of Mira here. Although she's barely a character. She does have a picture, which is nice, but it's just kind of a random, what is she, a city clerk or something? If the characters get stuck, the Golden Vault can provide unexpected help. For instance, if the characters lack vital information needed for a heist, their handler might share a recent discovery. Seems kind of lame. If characters need special equipment, their handler might be able to obtain it for them, provided the equipment is readily available and not too expensive. If you decide to use the Golden Vault as the character's patron organization, work with the players to determine what heroic or impressive deeds their characters performed in their backstories to gain the attention of the Golden Vault. So, here's the dilemma I'm already looking at. If I want to make it a twist that the players end up inadvertently helping the rise of Vecna, basically, at least towards the end of their career, does that mean that the Golden Vault has been compromised this entire time? That at least the entire time the players have been working for it? Or is it that probably not? It would probably be better if perhaps after the party does the first chapter of Vecna Eve of Ruin, which would get them linked to Vecna, and then Vecna's agents or whatever are able to infiltrate. Perhaps the Golden Vault isn't nefarious at all. It's just that Vecna's agents are know how the Golden Vault operates, and maybe they just are able to manufacture the same keys and basically just supersede the Golden Vault. Trying to think if I do use a handler, then maybe that handler killed and replaced by a doppelganger? Is that handler Did they just betray the party at some point? And then the other thing I'd like to do is involve something like the Zentarum, because I think our party, especially my wife, has a lot of history. My wife's characters have a lot of history with the Zentarum. And I could have the Zentarum kind of be the antagonists for the party. In other words, and I'm kind of surprised the book doesn't use the Zentarum. Maybe the book's trying to be more like setting agnostic, but in fact, they say the rivals are like part of I think a different organization. But I could use the Zentarum, and then the funny thing would be is at the end, once the Golden Vault basically becomes compromised, and the party ends up like, oh shit, we just gave everything to Vecna, and then the Zentarum can be like, you stupid motherfuckers, and then all of a sudden the party has to like, maybe work with the Zentarum or something at the end, which would be a really cool twist if we could work that out. We integrated the UA Bastion on their 5th level, so we forgot a prerequisite. Yeah. So I think it would be fun to work their way up to getting a Bastion for sure. But at the beginning, they probably just need to be working out of like, I don't know, an office building or something. And then, the other question is, this doesn't really have a good introductory event or chapter like a lot of the adventures I've run in the past have had, or at least have motivated me to manufacture one. As an anthology, this doesn't try to do that at all. It's just like, hey, here's our first lowest level adventure, play it like all the others, which is the museum one, the Merkmeyer Malevolence. So now I'm at a crossroads of saying, okay, do we want to have the party like meet during this first heist, maybe? But then the heist also has like, you get a specific mission and a thing to do. So that would be, I think that would overcomplicate things if everybody's trying to act on their own and they just meet each other. So maybe it'd be better to just have a session 0 backstory prelude thing where the party can, I don't know, we basically come up with a story together about, hey, how did your group meet with these specific set of skills where you don't mind breaking the law, basically. Like, this is not for lawful characters. Ideally, you're all still good-hearted people, which can be a stretch for some of my players. But you definitely are into breaking the law. It's very much like the Robin Hood, concept, the chaotic good thing. Keys to the Eve of Ruin, yep. Hey, CT. We are crafting keys. Should I call it crafting keys or crafting the Golden Vault? Crafting keys has a good ring to it. But I feel like crafting I feel like crafting the Golden Vault, people know what that's all about. And then eventually I would probably just straight up start calling it like Crafting Ruin once we get to that point, which would be cool. A street gang running out of an abandoned inn. Oh, you mean like Troll Skull Manor? By the way, I did go back and look through Waterdeep Dragon Heist to see if there was anything I could use. Because I'm also thinking like, hey, where should I set this? Because there's no really setting for these adventures. And unfortunately, a lot of them are kind of out in some crazy places. So I'm just going to have to come up with a way for the party to get to these places. Because I could be like, well, let's just do Waterdeep then. Why not just set it in Waterdeep? That seems to be the big city. My only issue with setting it in Waterdeep is that the only one that really cares about the setting is that first chapter from Eve of Ruin. Because it specifically is the flip side of Neverwinter, Evernight. So if I don't have the whole campaign set in Never, because that would just be the easiest thing to do, is if the player's already making a name for themselves, they're in Neverwinter, they're taking all these cases, and then somebody in Neverwinter says, hey, we need you to go do this. It makes a lot more sense organically. Versus if they're up and comers in Waterdeep, like you get contacted from like this whole other city up the Sword Coast, but oh well, we'll try to make that work. because Waterdeep seems like it would make more sense to have a lot of these different urban adventures. I think a lot of them could conceivably take place right in the city too. The first two, I'm pretty sure could. Stygian Gambit you could put anywhere, like in a cave, I think. I'm probably on. So let's go over the adventures actually real quick, because that's also a good thing to look at for keys. Do I even have them? See, now I regret not starting with keys in the Golden Vault because I don't have them here. Okay. Actually get a list of these in here or no? Oh, rats. I was hoping to run through them with, well, wait. We could do this. Okay. I was hoping to find the one that showed them by level and had like a synopsis of them. Let's see. This kind of shows. All right, well, because I don't have them all in my screen right now. I've only added 2 of them so far. Murkmire Malevolence. I like that adventure a lot. I think I should run it. It's a good Lobby adventure. It's the museum heist. It's got a really cool hook, which is you're trying to save this. It turns out this artifact that was found and put in a museum is actually an egg of an eldritch creature, and it'll hatch soon and like kill everybody in the museum. So the party is sent to remove it, and I guess maybe put it in a special container, or I guess give it to this NPC who can better take care of it. It's level 1, so its biggest problem for me is if I want to start at level 3. It would take a little bit more work to scale that one, but probably not much. You have to do some DCs, you just up the guards. You know, I don't think it would take too much more. Also, I thought it'd be a really cool twist for this one. It says in the notes that if you don't deal with it successfully, it hatches into an Onkeg stat block, and then from there basically goes to a Behir. I thought it'd be pretty fun if it did hatch at some point during the adventure, and it was like a baby Behir. But of course, I would do a fun thing where like the party can befriend it, and then they have this fucking like awesome little mini baby Behir mascot. That and I would scale it like down, so instead of having its lightning breath, it just does like shocking grasp or something. Like we could have a lot of fun with that. That's my idea, to give somebody like a pet right off the bat, like a team mascot would be fantastic. And I just like the idea of like a baby Behir. Sounds amazing. So Murkmire Malevolence is a plus for me. Thumbs up. Stygian Gambit is the casino one, which I feel like has to be an automatic add, right? Stygian Gambit, they are sent to steal back a certain object, I believe, from the owner of the casino, which, man, you could even... I would love for the Zentarum to actually hire the party, but it doesn't make sense if they're getting hired by the Golden Vault. But I guess if I want this... Ideally, I'd want the rival crew, I guess, to be working for the Zentarum, because that might make the party like, oh, shit, these guys are organized. I do like the Stygian Gambit a lot, though. It's got a lot of fun opportunities to do all the things, to role play and do some like puzzling. And oh god, I forgot how weird the art style was. It was like fucking 1999, like computer RPG. It's so weird. It looks like the Might and Magic series or something. 3D. So Stygian Gambit, I think is a check. I think it's a plus. I think it's a plus for me. It's a fun just casino heist adventure. Reach for the Stars. I'm pretty confident we can skip. It is a like kind of eldritch horror mansion thing, cult thing, and it doesn't feel much like a heist. I don't know. I'm not too into that one from like the very beginning. It's a little too weird and feels more like almost a standard dungeon crawl with like a little bit of silliness to it. And because we're doing the whole Vecna cult thing later, maybe I really shouldn't do this one. So I'm not as into Reach for the Stars. Prisoner 13, you've already probably seen my ranking video where I put that one dead last. I thought it's huge, problematic, would take a whole lot of work for me to improve it. And also, if you recall, we've already gone to the Rime of the Frost Maiden prison in our Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, Revel's End. And I also didn't like the location there and turned it into fucking LV426 in my campaign. Had a lot of fun with that one, but took a lot of work. So definitely skipping that one. So right now we're looking at running the level 1 and 2 adventure and skipping the 3 and 4 adventure. So, you know, we're probably thinking, well, there's your solution, is if we want to start the party at level 3, we'll just scale up those first 2 and run those at like the 3 and 4, right? Talkworth's Clockworks, I do like. I need to re-familiarize myself with that one, but that's the one where they go into, I believe, a deep gnome village in the Underdark, and it's been like overrun by this almost like mad scientist who's building all these clockwork devices. That one just seems really different and fun. We don't really go to the Underdark too often, so I think it's interesting. It's a fifth level adventure. Masterpiece Imbroglio, I don't know if I can pronounce that. This is the one that my idea, and initially I wasn't going to run this one necessarily, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, okay, if we introduce the rivals for at least the first two adventures, because that makes the most sense, Murkmire and Stygian, because they're operating around the city, probably wouldn't make much sense that they're also going to be at Talkworth. And then Masterpiece Imbroglio could probably be like the party having to go into the Zentarum to steal something the Zentarum stole, which would be a kind of a boss fight of like the rivals. So they like all the rival crew might be there. Maybe we could have like Bryce's be there. Like we could really have some fun with that one because it's the party having to steal a painting from the Thieves Guild. So that I thought that'd be a neat idea if we had like, oh shit, this is like the rivals like main base is this location. And it's the level 5th one, so at this point, maybe the party can get their own bastion, or maybe they destroy the whole Thieves Guild and establish their own bastion right there. Like, I don't know how they would work that one, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, like, okay, it just heisting out a Thieves Guild could be really cool. I think it would need some work, because you think a Thieves Guild would have a lot more, like, secrets and shit and traps. So it'll probably need a little bit gussing up, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, all right, I think I could work with this one. So I think Masterpiece is a thumbs up for me. Axe from the Grave, I'm not a fan of. I read it, and when I did my ranking, and I just couldn't work my head around how to make that interesting at all. You're like stealing this like loot from a band hall, basically, and there's just not a lot of anything going on from what I could tell. Maybe it's very like story heavy, I don't know, but it just did not seem very interesting. So I'll reread it and see, but I was not very into that one, so I would give it a thumbs down right now. Vidorant's Vault, I think I would also give a thumbs down to. You're also stealing from a thief. Basically, these two thieves had a falling out, as I recall, and then one of them wants to steal something back from the other one, and you have to go into this vault to steal it. I don't know. There's nothing really special about it. It's not bad necessarily, but and at the end, I think the thief, of course, shows up and offers a deal and all this other stuff going on. So maybe you could tie that into the Zentarum again and be like, okay, we need to hit their like vault now for some reason, but it's just okay. It's just there. Like if we need to use it, we can, but it's not high on my priority. So it's mostly a thumbs down. Shard of the Accursed, I do think I like that one because it's an interesting reverse heist, and plus we can put because it's a reverse heist, I think it'd be interesting if the shard was actually found in one of the other heists as part of the treasure, probably in the Masterpiece Ambrosio one, so that they end up getting this shard. Somebody gets it as a cursed item, and then I guess the only weird thing is the Golden Vault like does realize that, and they send the party on a mission to deal with the shard as well. Because the way that the mission is given is that you get the key with the shard at the same time. But I think it'd be more interesting if the party organically found the shard and then they follow. I guess I could always skip the Golden Vault part of it and just like, okay, we want to follow up on this and try to like figure out how to solve this issue on our own, and that takes them to like this ancient dig site for this like city and this giant that's calcified himself or whatever, and they have to kind of solve the whole backstory and then eventually return this shard to that one location. So I like it because it's different. It's different than a lot of like just kind of breaking in to steal something. So I like Shard of the Accursed quite a bit. Heart of Ashes, I don't remember that one a whole lot, but that's the one that has to do with the crazy smoking like kingdom that's like coming apart at the seams and has its own like crazy almost fairy tale story going on with this like evil sorceress and like a king's heart that you have to steal and all this. So it feels different in a good way, and I just like the setting is kind of more interesting. It doesn't have a whole lot like, I don't remember story stuff going on, but like the shadow creatures and all this, like I remember liking that one. But again, I'll have to revisit that one. But I think that's a tentative thumbs up for me. And the last three I think are all definitely thumbs ups, which are the Affair in the Concordant Express, which is that crazy, what's the drone guy's names? can't think of right now. Mono drones, palindromes. I can't remember what the fuck their name is. The Clockwork people. And they've got this train that like propels itself through all these different multiverse stuff, and they happen to have a prisoner on their train, and it's the heist is just, I think it's to free that prisoner, or maybe no, actually no, it's to get information from that prisoner. It's to get like the Modron. That's what I'm thinking of. Yes, thank you, Modron. Jesus, thank you, chat. And it's to get the true name of a devil or something. But I would probably do it even harder than that. Be like, no, you got to get this guy off the train. Like, you got to free this guy and somehow, because it's weird that like none of the heists have that twist where it's like, oh, the thing is a person and you have to get the person out. I always thought that was a neat twist. You don't do it too often, but that would be a good case of maybe what you have to do there. Although I guess it's not a twist there if you already know that information to start off with. So I like that one, and we could make that into a Vecna ordered one too, that the party just doesn't know the fact that they need to get this stranger out who's got all these secrets. Party at Palace at Hall. I think I like that one because it can be more social RP heavy. It's like a powerful Fae party, and there's this whole bit with this like thing. The thing they're trying to steal. Not only is it like a necklace worn around one of the main NPCs there, but like the necklace itself is like a prison, I believe, for like a Fae archmage. Like, it gets real crazy. So I definitely think that one's got some really cool stuff going on there. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the Vecna plot, but not all of them necessarily would need to either. But maybe we could make it that way. Maybe somehow that item is needed. So we could tie like the final like 3 adventures into working for Vecna. And then Fire and Darkness, obviously. Not one that I actually rated very high, by the way, when I did my Golden Vault ranking video, I must say. I thought it was only okay. But because it works so perfectly for my purposes of this campaign to, roll it into it's the Book of Vile Darkness, I think I definitely need to run it. It just boils down to being more of a dungeon crawl than anything else. But the party is sent to steal a specific item from that dungeon, and they do have like multiple paths in, and so I think it fits the mold for being a heist. So what does that mean? That means I think ultimately run, let's see, Murkmire, Stygian, Talkworths, Shard, Heart, Concordant Express, Party at Palace at Hall, and Fire and Darkness. That's 8 of how many total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'm thinking I would probably run 8 out of 13, which, as I said, that might be like 70%, maybe a little bit less than that. I'm not great at math, I'll be honest. So those are the ones I would run, but then I would insert within this same campaign run that first chapter of Eve of Ruin. So right now I'm thinking, okay, we start at level 3. We run Murkmire and Stygian Gambit. We also introduce the rival crew, which will raise the difficulty, and I would definitely not use the bullshit stat blocks they use here for the rival crew. First of all, I love the idea of a rival crew, and they're actually like given like names and personalities, which I appreciate. I would definitely run with that. And there's like 6 of them too. But their like starter stat blocks are for levels 1 through 4 are mostly bandits, which is bullshit. That's not going to frighten anybody but a level 1 party. So if we're starting at level 3, then we're gonna up those. We're gonna up those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. There's not gonna be any fucking bandits and scouts. These are gonna be more powerful. Which I guess I need to look again at the monster manual and see what other kind of cool stat blocks we could possibly potentially use for some of these rival crew members. But I think that will. I don't think it'll be too crazy to use them for both of them back to back. Hopefully not. I guess ideally they do one mission that has the rival crew, one that didn't, and then one that did. But the way I would run it level-wise would be Murkmire, Stygian, and then Talkworths. And Talkworths is the one... I guess I could always switch that around a little bit. It just take more level scaling for me. Talkworths is the one that probably wouldn't have the... Although there are also notes about how to use... Like, what are the rival crew's motivations for each of these individual missions. So you could argue that they could be involved in any of these. Yeah, I think they're called toughs now, which is a fucking weird term. But yes, that basically replaced the thug stat block. I'd have to go pull my book out. I've already got like 3 books on my desk right now. So level 3 to 4, Murkmire Malevolent, Stygian Gambit. We've got the Rival Crew. Level 5-ish, we're running Talkworths. Level, let's see, 5 to 6, we're running Masterpiece Ambrosio, which we kind of say is the culmination of the whole Rival Crew era. And that really, basically like the climax of the first, season, really, of the players, which means maybe that should be more level 5, because I think 5 kind of acts as like a good, like, hey, you've made it now at D&D. You've made it to level 5. But that's kind of maybe like, basically I'm saying once they do Masterpiece and Ambrosio, they're not going to run to the Rival Crew anymore. I think, although I guess I'm torn on that. Do I run out of them too early? That's tricky. Maybe I'll go back on that. And then during that mission, they would find the shard used in Shard of the Accursed. Accursed. They are cursed. And then I just kind of wrote in my notes, okay, levels 7 through 10, which is obviously a big freaking range, is just going to be flexible between a lot of different missions. And that's going to be Shard of the Accursed, Heart of Ashes, Affair in the Concordant, Party at Palisade Hall, and Chapter 1 of Eve of Ruin. All of those can occur in kind of whatever order. Although now I'm thinking we probably want to at least do the Chapter 1 of Eve of Ruin, which, what is that one called again? Everdeath? Is that what they called it? Evernight? Too many tabs are open. That chapter is called Return from Never Death Graveyard. So I'm thinking we would run that at least before Affair in the Concordant Express. And then if I want to use the easy level scaling that's already in keys, that means they would also do Party at Palisade Hall after that. Which I actually forgot what levels those were even designed for initially. Let's see. Party at Palisade, okay. Affair in the Concordant is level 9. And Party at Palisade Hall is 10. So we could run Chapter 1 of Eve of Ruin at either level 8 or 9, which would probably be fine. But that's an interesting case. Because the only ones I'm skipping from... So the tricky thing is, I like basically the last 5 adventures from Keys from the Golden Vault. Shard of the Cursed, Heart of Ashes, Affair in the Concordant Express, Party at Palisade Hall, and Fire and Darkness. All 5 of those, levels 8 through 11. But also, in addition to that, I want to insert a whole chapter from Eve of Ruin. So hopefully I'm not overloading the level spread a little bit. But I don't like Axe from the Grave or Veteran's Vault, which are level 6 and 7. So I might have to do a lot of playing around with some of the different levels here. Make some of them happen a little earlier and a little bit easier. And then be able to insert the Eve of Ruin chapter in there. They have Bandit, Bandit Captain, Bandit Lord, and Bandit Deceiver. Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, they did do a lot of good stuff like that, right? They added, for just generic, like, people stat blocks. I think there's some good options in there. Like you said, Bandit alone has some. At least one of them should be like one of the, spellcasters. In fact, how good was the Bandit? Is the Captain still the leader, or is there a different one that's stronger? Bandit Captain is still CR2. Which would be like more equal to a single low level. Actually, 52 hit points. That's pretty fucking solid. Is it the Deceiver that's even stronger? Yeah, CR7, 130 hit points. That's a little too strong for the first time they meet. It might be a bit much. Makes 3 dagger attacks. And has some spellcasting, including Hold Person. Disguise Self. Yeah, now I'm second guessing my thought of having the whole Rival Crew like Zentarum thing like end in Masterpiece Ambrosio. I could always run that one later, a little bit later. But then what would I run earlier? Because all the ones I like are later. A lot of the ones that I'm skipping are in the first half. So I've got Murkmire, Stygian Gambit, and Talkworths. Like the only ones I like from the lower levels. That is tricky. I did look through, like I said, I looked through Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and I didn't like it the first time I reviewed it. It's kind of interesting from like a thriller standpoint, I guess, but it's a very focused plot where it's like you're basically just chasing this MacGuffin throughout the adventure. So if I'm not using that MacGuffin plot line, it's really hard for me to use anything from that adventure. Like even the opening thing is like heavily involved in that particular story. And they do that weird thing where it's like, there's 4 different villains. The DM can choose which villain to use. I'm like, okay. So it means none of them are, I don't know, very interesting to use. I mean, it's an interesting story, I guess, between the Xanathar and the Zentarum plot and all that going on. But I couldn't wrap my head around using anything that wouldn't just become Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I guess, in the end. So I couldn't find anything super... Even it was like, well, maybe I can use Troll Skull Alley, which I guess I could still use just that piece of it. So it might be worth checking out a little bit. I also looked at the most recent anthology, of course, Dragon Delves. And in fact, they just said, Golden Vault has to do with metallic dragons. I was like, okay, well, let's look at, if we can do anything with that. There's one of the adventures from Dragon Delves that actually kind of starts off like a heist. You even get a map, I believe, like a heist style map like you do here, which I love these. This is like what helped sell me on these adventures, is the amazing maps that you can give your players before they ever even set foot in the area. They basically get a map layout of the dungeon. They can really start planning everything, which is just fantastic. I love that idea. But the adventure in Dragon Delves that does that is the Will of Orcus, which was my least favorite of the entire thing, and to where I would have to like rework everything, and I was like, I thought like, okay, maybe we could use Baker's Doesn't. Even though Baker's Doesn't isn't quite a heist, it does start off with like an investigation thing that the party is tracking down. And it's cute that it involves a gold dragon because, Golden Vault, Gold Dragon, maybe we could work with something there. And I thought, okay, that could be... we could even work that as their initial adventure. I believe it's a level 3 adventure, but I could run that as their first adventure and be like, hey, you all meet because you're here while this bakery is burning, and you all end up getting this information, and for some reason you start talking together. I don't know. It's always awkward when the parties get thrust into an adventure like that, but sometimes it happens. And then they go and investigate the candy house and have those like adventures. I guess it doesn't really necessarily play out like a heist after that point, though, even though they are sent to find something. The investigation starts and they have to find the thing, and then they eventually can get it without having to like just break down doors and kill everybody. So it is a thought I had. And then the other thing I'm thinking of is, who do I use as their handler? Do I use the Mira character? Do I use another character? Like, do I want to have, Mannix come in, and because he was Mr. Noir detective guy. So like, well, maybe he finally got out of Cholt and now he's the handler for the Golden Vault. So that could be kind of fun. In which case, do we just do my initial thought of the prelude is the party just talks about, hey, you're already, basically we start the campaign where you're already a part of the Golden Vault. You already know each other. You're, low ranking operatives, I guess. It's weird that the handler like isn't almost a thing in this one. Like, I don't know. You almost don't really need a handler. Like the way they introduce all of the adventures is that you get this magical music box, key operated music box from the handler. You always have, and then there's a golden key that is dispatched to your group. This is the message that should you choose to accept it, whatever. Usually via a hired courier, so it's not even the handler giving you the key. And then you insert the key into the music box, and then the box opens and plays the message, and then the box closes and the key vanishes. So it's like once you get that initial, like, I don't know, introduction from the handler and get your box, I don't think you ever really need the handler anymore. They don't really play like an important role. And I kind of like playing up the it's I guess it's a Charlie's Angels situation. It's another thing, or Mission Impossible to an extent, where it's like your organization is supposed to be like, is it better to make it unknown, I guess, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, is like it's all mysterious and but on purpose, because that's how they get away with stuff. It's literally like it's the equivalent of like, you're a secret agent to where your country will disavow all knowledge and like leave you to rot because like you don't officially work for us. Your character does not exist. You're the Jason Bourne or whatever that kind of stuff is. So that's kind of what I'm thinking might be the angle for the Golden Vault. And maybe another interesting twist is to literally do it like Mission Impossible, which, by the way, I saw the most recent one, not the, I guess the most recent one, the Dead Reckoning Part 1. I thought it was terrible. Me and Chris had it talking out about it because he loves those movies. And I was like, this is a bad movie. But anyway, where they talk about like, oh, we got a choice, right? Like, so you were, like something bad happened and you were caught, but yet you were and maybe that could be maybe that could actually, I could see my players enjoying that, where it's like, hey, your characters were all like sitting in prison or sitting on the executioner's block. It's the beginning of Skyrim where you're being, wheeled in on the wagon and to execution. But you were all given this mysterious key, maybe, and this key opened a door somewhere. Somehow you were like, you got out of that situation. You were able to make a choice that basically says, hey, you can accept your fate here, or you can come work for this thing that's bigger than you. And if they accept, which they all did because they're going to be part of this campaign, then they all meet up at this, mysterious location. And I probably do need to have a person there, maybe. I don't know. I can't decide if I need to have the Bosley. Do you need Bosley for Charlie's Angels? I don't know what the other equivalent would be. Or can you literally just do you never have to personalize it? Maybe, I don't know, because the problem is if you have a Bosley, then the character's going to ask Bosley all the questions about it, and they could be like super mysterious about it. I guess I could make the character very mysterious. If I make it Mannix, I don't know how mysterious I can make it. I guess is my solution, but I like the idea of the Golden Vault being this very powerful, but like rumored, unknowable like organization to where like most people don't think it really exists, for example. But maybe there's some supernatural qualities about it. So the party were all given these options. Like maybe they were on either death's door or, they had gotten in trouble and they were given a choice and like, hey, you need to join this organization. And now they do this because it's how they can apply their nefarious skills, but to this particular organization. I think that's kind of an interesting hook. That's kind of where I'm probably going with it. Golden Dragon's leaving the Golden Vault and he is missing and the other teams are busy. Let them decide why they are working together for the first job, and then there's the reveal that the Golden Vault wants to hire them. Yeah, so the only problem with my idea is that does have them, although maybe it's a solution also, it is basically you were all given this choice to join the vault. It also admittedly paints the characters in a corner where it's like, oh, hey, you all had to have been in this situation where you needed this like almost supernatural way of getting out of it, like legally, basically. But I kind of know my players, and I think most of them would actually like to play characters like that, right? Like here, and that also kind of makes sure the characters aren't particularly lawful. Although you could argue like maybe you had a character that was just like a Kalinar who's like, well, I'm lawful, but only in my own way. Like I didn't see the laws of this one place was unjust, but maybe the unjust laws or the corruption or whatever was so powerful that it was the lawful character, the lawful good character that was actually thrown in prison, and maybe they were the ones that were given this choice. Um, Although interestingly, maybe the lawful good character would have been like, "Nah, I'm going to ride this thing out because I'm lawful." So I don't know, but that does kind of paint the characters in a little bit of a corner in terms of like, hey, this is who you're sort of, your character has to be in this kind of situation, but then now you're all graduated into this organization, whether you all know each other or not. Now you do. The teams are kept very small and very tight. The Golden Vault does like people to work in teams because that's how they know they get the most success. And it just happens to be like, I don't know, they were all just all in the same zip code or something. Lawful good character in a lawful evil society. Yeah. Handler corners them and gives them the option in prison. Yeah. I guess that's true. You could have the handler. Yeah, that's actually a good way of personalizing it. They're the ones that actually like come in and in some other ways, like maybe they disguise themselves. I love the idea of using Manix, but I don't know if I can use him. Maybe I need to use some supernatural creature that can disguise themselves. Maybe there's like a certain like hat or something that they always wear to kind of let the players give an interesting idea that it's always that character. Maybe it's a gold dragon in disguise. I don't know. We could work with something there. That could be an interesting twist. But then when I pull the rug out of the characters at the end and be like, oh, by the way, you guys have actually been working for Vecna this whole time, that could be pretty brutal. And maybe it's after they do the Vecna mission, they just don't hear from their handler for a couple missions. If I can work that out, and instead they just get these keys and get these missions, and then at the end, once they when they deliver the Book of Vile Darkness, they later find that like their handler has been like captured or killed or tortured or something crazy. That could be so dark and awesome. Yes, that is a great fucking analogy, Bo. Snake fucking Plissken. He's upstairs right now. I have a Snake Plissken, not action figure. What do they call those like really nice looking action figure, like the ones you're not supposed to play with, but the ones that like you put on a shelf or something, collectible figures, whatever. I have an amazingly like well detailed Snake Plissken figure that I've had for like, I don't know, over 20 years. I think it's upstairs in a different room, but I'm a huge fucking fan of that character in those movies. I'm a huge Kurt Russell. Like I will fanboy for Kurt Russell every fucking day. But that is an amazing analogy. It's funny they do the same thing basically in both movies. Although I think one's a fake out, where that one is they literally basically put a time bomb, sometimes metaphorically and sometimes literally, and say like, hey, you got to go do this mission or we'll, I guess one of them is I think you'll do the mission or we'll pardon you, and the other one is like you'll do this mission or we'll kill you, or maybe they kill him in both. I don't know, I forget, but that's a great analogy. I love that. That one is you're being more forced against your will and you hate the people you work for. I don't think that's actually quite the angle I want to go with here, because I do want the players to ultimately, I think they do want to work for the Golden Vault. So maybe it's not that. I love that character, but there's got to be another analogy where that happens. Where like the characters are basically given an out by an organization, and then they end up working for that organization. You've got three options: start in prison, start as a thief group, or super cops. That's always the three options we all have in life, isn't it? Start in prison, start as a thief group, or super cops. That's true. I could always turn it over to the player, and I probably will have that discussion with the players. I think they would be on board, and it could be, especially if I say like, if I throw it to them and say, hey, you are in this bad situation, like you're in prison or you're ready to be executed or something, and it may be unjust. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, you stole something you shouldn't have, and now you're giving an out to that. It could be like, hey, you were trying to fight back against corruption or something. So your character would still be good, but you were just happened to be in a really bad area that had control of the law, basically. What would that be? So I think if as long as I give them that kind of malleability with it, I think they would really run with that as a precursor to their character. Because that's something I need to figure out really as soon as possible. Obviously, all this other stuff, but certainly so I have as much information to give to my players, and then they can turn around and make their, I guess they have to make their characters till session 0, but by the time we do session 0, obviously they need to know what characters they're going to make. Which, as I mentioned before, we've already been going well over an hour, although I figured this would be a fun starter crafting. I think Shadowgate is going to take us another 2 weeks. I think even if we get through a lot of it on Friday, I think I'll go ahead and probably let it run another week. So that way we can finish it and then just kind of put an end to it. So count on doing that for another 2 weeks. And then I think I'd be okay with probably running straight into session 0 for Keys from the Golden Vault. And hopefully with all of these various crafting streams that we do, we'll be able to figure out how to start it off properly. Again, we don't, unfortunately, running an adventure anthology, I don't have a good starter adventure like I did. So do we just run Murkmire and just have that be, hey, here's your first mission? And then we talk about how the prelude, had them all like meet up at this area, and this is all your backstories and stuff for our session 0. And then session 1, they're already a group, but they're untested. They haven't had their first real mission yet. So we can start right in with Murkmire. We can also play with it if we wanted to. We could start with Stygian Gambit. Be like, fuck it, let's start with the casino one. Or something else. We could play with the levels to an extent, but that's my overall idea for the campaign. That's why I kind of got extra motivated to run this one. I was really excited about running a kind of a collection of heist adventures. I think my group would really appreciate this kind of setup. I think some of our most favorite memorable moments from a lot of our campaigns over the years have all been these kind of heist-like situations, like Sunblight from the Frost Maiden or Fort Belwarian from Tomb of Annihilation. They just happen to be these, I don't know, where the characters can like split up and take care of all these different things and just shenanigans happen, and it just ends up being really fun. I was like, well, let's make a whole campaign of that. Skip all the middle like travel and don't worry too much about these, overarching plot things so much. Although we can play a little bit around with that with the rival crew and the Zentarum being a big thing. But then the overall plot will start to build as we get later in the campaign, and then eventually do this crazy shocking twist and actually transform that into the ultimate heist campaign, which is of course going around the multiverse and collecting the pieces of the Rod of 7 Parts to defeat Vecna. So that is my full idea for my upcoming campaign of Keys in the Golden Vault. You heard it here first. This was the very first crafting stream, so thank you so much for all of you joining. I love being able to bounce ideas off everybody. I'm still working out how often I want to do the crafting streams versus doing this work in D&D, and obviously I still want to do some crafting Dragonlance streams as well, so I'll just try to work out the timing for that. But obviously I love doing this kind of thing, and also I'll try to come up with some music because I just didn't have any for this time. It's so early in the crafting stuff that I haven't done any of my music stuff, but I will be around on Thursday, whether I'm doing crafting or this week in D&D. We will figure that out. But 2 more weeks, I think, of Shadowgate, and then we'll jump into Keys in the Golden Vault after that, session 0. All right, thank you all so much, and thank you to the patrons for helping to support this channel and these awesome D&D campaigns. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Brandon, Genocider, Roleplay Roll, Christopher, Big Nut, John, Nathan, Andrew, Stephanie, Jason, Libby's Buds, Ward, Nemo, LC, Tom, the Dogs, Marcus, Snuggy, Hugo, Jerry, Say, Shasa, and John. And gold patrons: RPG, Papergrams, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Does the Down, Jerome, Nathan, Scott, Refus, Jerry, Glenn, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support.